out or doing the different committees. Every night we have a general assembly at 7 o'clock, and it is incredible because every night I watch a government sprouting. There are proposals, there are amendments, there's a moderator. This is a government. We are governing ourselves, and this group doesn't do anything with the consent of everyone. If one person blocks it, it doesn't happen because this is a consent. We're working towards a consensus type of decision making, which is very difficult. But the other day at the GA, I think we came up with a general statement that is the goal of this movement, which is, okay. The position statement for the common goals we have, we are creating we want to create global, sustainable communities that value the health of the earth and all of its inhabitants over corporate profits. And I mean, that really, to me, that really says it all.
What started out as a protest has led to a worldwide movement. I, of course, am talking about the Occupy Wall Street movement. The movement began in September of 2011, and protests haven't stopped since. Guys, what are your general thoughts of this movement?
You know, I think about the movement is that, you know, they're trying to say that how their movement is it's the same as the gay rights movements of the 80s and 90s, the civil rights movements of the 60s and 50s, the women's suffrage movement, but it's completely different because I personally, in the video and on the photos, I'm not seeing normal average day people usually there. I mean, I might see a couple, but the most that I'm seeing is just the hippies and the pot smokers there. And you know, I mean, I understand where they're coming from, and I agree with them that I don't think that it's right that, you know, 1% should have, you know, the vast majority of the wealth. But you know, I don't agree with how they're going about it, and I don't see them actually being able to promote any change.
Yeah, I think there's some substantive issues out there that we need to have conversation about. I think you know, movements like this, you know, because we have the digital age, so much of it, you know, gaffes, arrests, and a lot of the negative stuff is out there immediately. And so, you know, if you're on one side or the other, you know, you can spin this any way you want. I think there's some issues, you know, underlying issues there. Whether they're going to actually provoke discussion about those issues, we'll have to wait and see.
Now, do you actually think with the Tea Party in 2000, well, basically after Barack Obama got elected, there was a huge movement in this country with the Tea Party, and it led to the 2010 midterm elections, really as the Tea Party movement. Do you think that this Occupy movement is also going to lead to major changes within the legislature?
You know, I actually don't. You know, I think that the problem with the Occupy movement is that, you know, they aren't, you know, they don't really have one platform. I mean, yes, there is the 1%, 99% thing, but, you know, they don't really have any ideas. All that they're saying is we just don't agree with what's going on. Yeah. And you know what? You can't change it if you don't know what you want to do with it.
I'm not too sure about changes in the legislature, because if legislators aren't at the Occupy movement, then you know they're going to be tepid at least about their support. You know, they're not. If they were all in, they would be all in, and they would be there. They would openly have these conversations about it. Right now, you saw a few come out earlier, but that's kind of died down a little bit. And so real change in the legislature, only if it brings on some increased voter participation. And maybe there'll be an indirect relationship with changes in the legislature.
No, as I said, the Occupy movement has really gone everywhere. It's even come to St. Cloud here. There's been a couple events here. There's obviously Occupy. Minnesota is still going on in Minneapolis. And when I was out in Milwaukee visiting my brother and I went and checked out Occupy Milwaukee to kind of see what it was all about. And to be honest with you, it turned out to be more of a anti-Scott Walker campaign than really talking about the 1% or the 99%. And I just got back from Washington, D.C. at a big conference, and the Occupy crowd was out there, and there was two different groups again. There was just people kind of protesting the event that I was at, along with a secondary group that, again, was anti-Scott Walker, which I was kind of curious why they were in Washington, D.C. protesting Scott Walker. But I think it kind of goes along with what you guys were talking about. There's no one issue. It's so spread out. There's no focus. And I think that really is a problem. But at the same time, it also gets more people involved because more people can participate. Now, if the Occupy movement, if it was solely about ending corruption in government, that's a movement I could get behind. But if it's about some of these other secondary things, that's where I have my problems with it.
Yeah. Well, you know, you asked a question, and Scott Walker, you're talking about the governor of Wisconsin. And the reason that issue is being discussed in Washington, D.C. is because at the core of that issue is the conversation that some people want to have about unions. You know, it's big somewhere. In some places, it's big. It's Wisconsin, I think Indiana, or there's another Midwestern state where this is a big conversation. It's bigger than regional, local. This is a national issue that, you know, seems to be teetering on how important it's going to be, and that's probably why it's in Washington. And, you know, we really need to start having some of those frank discussions, but reality is we're probably going to have these situations where the only change that's going to happen is if more people are energized by these activities, Tea Party, Occupy, and get out and participate in the electoral process. That's it. Because otherwise, this is just going to be, you know, conversations that are going to come and go, and movements that are going to, you know, go up and down.
You know, I admit I don't fully understand unions. I read a great book by one of that has a foreword written by St. Cloud State University professor called The American City, which is about the union strike that happened in Minneapolis, St. Paul during, I believe, the 1920s. And, you know, I understand that unions are needed because, you know, corporations, you know, a lot of corporations aren't like, you know, Ford that, you know, tried to raise the quality of workers and raise the wage benefits and everything. But now that I've seen that unions are starting to almost cost the entire system a lot more than what they used to be fighting for. And, you know, that's why I actually do agree with Scott Walker and his decision. You know, and I fully support that his ideas because he did, you know, help Wisconsin greatly with their debt problem.
I think we'll definitely come back to the Scott Walker issue, and this is quite a big issue. We'll definitely come back to it, but sadly we're out of time. That will do it for us here today. Join us next time as we continue to bring you all the latest hot button issues. Thanks for watching.